Alright guys, welcome back. Okay, so I want to quickly talk about side deck options because we gotta deal with Spyral. And Spyral is consistent and its end result is intimidating. Rarely, not rarely, but like it's hard to come by sometimes when a deck it's consistent and it's that aggressive compared to a deck being consistent but its end result or its end product is not intimidating at all. In this case, it's not the case. This is what it ends with pretty much. Consistently, if you're gonna be playing competitively, this is what you're gonna face, and this is what you pretty much gotta be expecting this type of boards, where 2 dragons that can bounce face-up monsters, a Spyral sleeper that destroys 2 cards during either player's turn, this that protects that from being self-destructive, and then this that protects these 2 altogether. So this trio is pretty insane on top of that. And then on top of that, depending on what hand you have to play, they have all this to stop you with. And that's pretty much the big picture. That's pretty much what you gotta face at the moment against that deck. So you can take 2 routes. You can take the route of dealing and preventing, which is the hand trap route, or you can deal with the end result, which is letting them do whatever it is that they're trying to do, and then stop, and then deal with the end result, which is this initial board. And Spear mode, Lava Golem, Kaijus deal with the majority of the issues, right? And then of course these fall under dealing with the end result as well, these guys. So what route do you take? What route should you take? And depending on what type of deck you play, you need to have that into consideration as well. Of course, you can ignore all that and just be like, okay, I have this deck and I'm just gonna put in hand traps and see what this goes, because sometimes that's all it takes sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you just, okay, it works out, it works out. And sometimes it can be a bit frustrating where you calculate and have this sort of ratio and it's not meant to work but it ends up working, or if it's meant to work but it doesn't work. So it's like that's kind of the frustrating bit about Yu-Gi-Oh deck building at times. But okay, so the good thing about dealing with end result is you don't have to open it. You can top deck it and it can help you out in that scenario. Whereas the prevention, you have to open it. If you top deck it and it doesn't do anything after that. But the thing about it, the bad things about each other is if you deal with the end result, right? Let's say you deal with the end result once, okay, and your push isn't significant enough to get you an establishment. Drawing things after that is so underwhelming because they don't do anything compared to this, where you can somehow manage to clear their board and push past their establishment, and then you top deck these. They're much more favorable. Does that make sense? So you gotta pick and choose what works with your deck best. If you're a grindy deck, if you're a deck with a bunch of disruptions, if your deck can afford to do that and your deck is consistent enough to work off 1-2 card combos, then it should be fine. But it's just that just depends on you. Like, but for these as well, hand traps, prevention, you have to understand the matchup. You have to understand the deck. Like, otherwise you're gonna be negating things that you shouldn't be negating. You're gonna be stopping stuff you shouldn't be stopping. So like Ash against Spyrals, use Ash the Helix. Ash, it's debatable though. So, but majority of the time, because they're gonna go for the special summon, the master plan, that's gonna give another plus. So use Ash the Helix. So that requires them to hard draw the other key cards that they need, and then ogre the resort, or ogre the Helix. So that prevents them from same scenario. They need to hard draw the actual pieces. And now that big red's at 1, it's a bit more. Well, it's not 1, but majority of the players are for some reason they were playing it at 1. So that's kind of like, okay, that I guess that makes sense. And then cherries, just cherries the Helix. Gamma, just like once again, like big words at once. So you ogre the quick fix, ogre the Helix pretty much. And then Maxi, and then DD Crow, you just DD Crow a big red target, or you ogre the drone effect or the quick fix effect. You gotta time it properly though, otherwise this is what I mean, you gotta know exactly when to do it and what sequence is the most vulnerable. And then drone lockboard, it stops all their searching, so it can essentially stop their entire turn, if assuming they don't open up everything hard draw. And then I think Veiler is a bit underrated because it's not once per turn. So if of course the The less ideal scenario is if you Vader the quick fix and the machine dupe. That's like the worst case scenario. But let's say you can Vader once, twice, three. If you open up 3 Vaders, you can Vader 3 times, and then you can open up and you can start off with 3 cards, because you still have 2 cards left. And that's the good thing about it, because it's not once per turn, which is cool. You can Vader the double helix, you can Vader the master plan, you can Vader drone, you can Vader. Does that make sense? So I think it's underrated. And then of course this falls under dealing with end result as well, like Gendo, right? If you can find a way to get rid of sleeper, then you can summon this all face up. Links can't go to defense, so they're all affected by Gendo. So for those of you that don't know what Gendo does, face up attack position monsters on the field cannot activate their effects. This defense position card cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. That's pretty huge. So if you can find out how to get rid of the sleeper, then you can summon this and set up some sort of establishment. Same thing for Dyna. If you can get rid of sleeper, set Dyna, pass. At the moment, I'm not too sure what they can do to get rid of Dyna. I can't think of anything right now. And same thing with this. You deal with the end result with this, right? You Kaiju the sleeper because it's the only one protected, and you just board wipe them. And then this is pretty much get rid of Spyral Resort. And prevent the protection for these guys pretty much. And then the only one card that's 80 bucks right now, but it's, I think against Spyral it's pretty insane. Like you can just use this and destroy all, just pretty much banish the entire field. That's huge. But it's 80 bucks though. It's like 80 plus bucks, man. And then this falls under the same thing where you deal with it after you've dealt with the end result, which is, like I said, getting rid of the sleeper. This prevents you from setting up. So if you can get rid of this, everything else will be vulnerable to this, pretty much. Does that make sense? And yeah, that's pretty much that's all I want to talk about, because some of these things you have to think about these type of situations that, oh, maybe you overlooked it, maybe you just didn't, you know. So like it's just like a thing where someone talks about something and then they didn't cover everything, and then another point of view knows this but sees something else and they add to it, and then this just starts developing and snowballing into multiple ideas, which is a good thing. But that's pretty much gonna be it. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.